So there's some drones flying over U.S. military bases in the UK. This is crazy, right? Everyone's talking about it, as you can see on the news here. Drones, drones, drones. Well, the Department of Defense has released a statement as well. Well, I guess really not a statement, but they addressed it in a press conference quite extensively, to be honest with you. So I've got that clip. But first, we're going to hear from Ross Coulthart, who has been tweeting out about this as well. And let's hear from him and see what he has to say.
And there are more questions than answers into mysterious drones spotted over U.S. military bases in England over the past several days. The U.S. Air Force says the drones have not impacted the bases or their residents, but it hasn't ruled out if they were sent by agitators. Let's get right to our News Nation special correspondent, Ross Coulthart. Ross, anytime we hear about something flying in a restricted space, it causes concern. Several drones spotted over 3 different military bases over several days. You posted on social media about those sightings. What can you tell us about what you've learned?
Well, Nick, the interesting thing about this whole saga is how little the Air Force has been able to tell us about what they're seeing, because there have been at least 5 nights, possibly 6 nights, of unexplained incursions by what the Air Force describes as drones over 3 of the most sensitive US bases, or British bases where the US Air Force is based in the United Kingdom. That's Mildenhall, Lakenheath and Feltwell. And what distinguishes all of those bases is that it's very likely all of them have nuclear weapons. So this is a very grave situation. Unexplained incursions by unexplained drones, multiple drones, dozens in some cases, and there has not been any attempt, as far as I can see, to successfully bring down one of these objects so that we can be told what they are and where they come from. And when the Pentagon was asked about this, Major General Pat Ryder, the Pentagon's press spokesman, he basically said that all he could tell us is that they are being actively monitored. He couldn't answer a question as to whether they were from a foreign adversary, and he couldn't answer the question as to whether or not they were of hostile intent.
Ross, now the U.S. Air Force did confirm that the sightings were unmanned aerial systems or drones. Do you believe that they are drones?
We've got to be skeptical about this because we've seen no evidence of this to date, Nick. And as you would know on our show Reality Check, for some time we've been reporting on similar sightings of so-called drones over places like Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, the Plant 42 at Palmdale in California, and also the Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey. That happened in, I think, 18th of November, just before these latest incidents. Now we've got these incidents over the 3 Air Force bases in the United Kingdom. And in none of these cases have any of these devices, these alleged drones, been recovered. So I think we're entitled to be skeptical, and the public's allowed to ask questions. Why can't the Pentagon answer a very basic question? Why do they say these are drones, and where are they coming from? And can we be assured that they are not a threat?
And speaking on the not a threat, so far, Ross, help me here, none of them have appeared to be hostile, but that still doesn't necessarily give everyone great comfort.
Well, we deployed, if you remember, Nick, in February last year, we deployed F-22 fighters to shoot down what we were told were balloons flying over the continental USA. It's a very interesting situation that we know that fighter jets have been scrambled from some of these bases in the United Kingdom. They've been flying without transponders, so we haven't been able to track them to see where they're going and where they're maneuvering. But there has been an air tanker refueling them, and they've been operating on afterburners. So it's quite clear that the military is taking this extremely seriously, and the British government has also brought in military assistance of its own to help the US Air Force deal with finding out any more that we can about these objects. At the moment, I think all we can legitimately say is they're objects and they're unexplained.
And they're unexplained. And Ross, this isn't the first time, because I do want to touch on this before I let you go. We had drones flying over Langley back in 2023, and we never determined exactly what was happening. Do you believe that these drones could be from foreign adversaries?
They could potentially be from foreign adversaries, but as you would know, we were the first to report on News Nation those Langley drones, so-called, and we have queried and questioned the reasons why they use drone terminology. I think at best what they are unexplained aerial vehicles of some kind. That's the best we can put it. And I think the public are entitled to expect an explanation.
And I know that, Ross, you'll keep pushing for an explanation as well. Ross Coulthard, thank you so much, sir.
So this is kind of a serious issue, right? I mean, pretty serious. In fact, we have things flying around. We're not really sure what they are, right? And we're kind of determining if they're hostile or not, or, you know, what's going on, right? So let's hear from the Department of Defense and see what they have to say. But stay tuned for after that, because I've got a couple of things that I think maybe some missightings as well. So we'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's hear from the Department of Defense and see what they have to say. They always tell the truth.
But the bottom line is, again, still assessing what these are, and, you know, just don't have anything further to pass along. I'd refer to U.S. Air Forces in Europe, which I'm sure you're in contact with, just to keep in touch on the latest on that.
And can you share anything yet about how you guys are detecting or countering them?
Again, I don't want to get into the specifics in terms of tactics, techniques, and procedures as it relates to force protection. Certainly, we have a variety of means at our disposal, and we will protect our personnel and our facilities. But, you know, again, just to kind of put this into context, you know, even here in the United States, right, if there are drones that are being flown by hobbyists or some other entity, you want to make sure that you're doing due diligence not only to protect yourself and the safety of others, but also using appropriate measures in order to not inadvertently create second and third order effects. In other words, potentially harming the civilian communities in which we operate in and around. So again, right now the assessment is that these drones have had no operational impact or safety impact on our personnel at any of these facilities. We're keeping a close eye on them. We're, of course, communicating very regularly with the UK host nation authorities, and we'll take appropriate measures, again, to protect our personnel and our people. Sure.
Just a quick follow-up. Have there been any drone incidents domestically since October?
That's a hard question to answer, Jen, because, I mean, the reality is on any given day, you know, Pat Ryder, hobbyist drone pilot, can fly my drone next to a base and it's in and it's out, and is that a drone incident, or are we talking about something you know, more serious, where like the Langley incident where there's multiple drones operating over a facility for multiple days? So you know, again, I don't have any statistics in front of me, but just the reality is that these small aircraft are now ubiquitous across the United States and the world. I have a very close relative of mine who's a drone pilot, and, you know, he flies his drone all over and does amateur photography. And, you know, what if that drone gets blown or carried by the wind too close to a facility, or, you know, they don't understand the FAA rules, et cetera, et cetera. So this is something that the department, the FAA, and others are looking at in this modern era of small aircraft. How do we make sure that we're responsibly protecting our assets while at the same time not assuming every single aircraft is going to be a threat? So thank you, Charlie.
Welcome back. I hate to go on about it too. However,
please do drone on.
I have to drone on. This is the third time in 2 weeks. They appear to be coordinated, persistent operations, not the work of a hobbyist. There are reports out of Britain that 60 military personnel have been deployed, 60 British personnel have been deployed. Does this come down to the MOD? Is it down to the Home Office? I mean, there are other ways of taking down drones without shooting them down.
Yeah, and you're right. And again, I won't speak for the MOD. And as I highlighted, of course, you know, the U.S. Military are guests in England, in the United Kingdom, at the invitation of the government of the United Kingdom. So certainly working very closely with the authorities there. We are taking it seriously. We're monitoring, taking appropriate measures. Again, I'm not going to get into the specific TTPs in terms of when and if we feel that we need to take something down. At this point, the assessment is that these do not pose any type of, you know, effect on our operations or safety of our personnel. So I don't have an answer. I'd have to refer you to USAFE, but I mean, it's not uncommon if we have, small teams that go around the world that are specialists in various capabilities. So I don't have an answer to that question. But I mean, you've got RAF Mildenhall, RAF Lakenheath, RAF Feltwell, all those bases are in close proximity. I mean, literally minutes away from each other. So, again, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. But as of right now, I would just, caution jumping to conclusions about what this is and who's doing it. And we'll just, continue to keep you updated.
I have an unrelated question. There are reports that the Houthis,
So there's a lot to talk about there, right? So clearly these could be just hobbyists with their drones. This could be Russian, Chinese, other foreign adversaries coming in to, gather intelligence, whatever, right? They could also be UFOs, right? Extraterrestrial craft. I don't know, reverse engineered craft. That's what some people are speculating. I don't know. There's not enough evidence, to be honest with you, of really anything. So we're kind of left with they are UFOs in the sense that they're unidentified flying objects flying around, right? Or UAP as they're known. Now, one thing that I found quite interesting was one particular clip, okay, from a person who's live streaming near these airports, near these bases out there, right? And watching these F-22s and fighter jets and all this stuff. And this person in the UK is live streaming. And I'll put their YouTube channel up on the screen right here. You can see them. There's one particular little clip in their live stream where you can hear kind of the base operator or whoever it is talking about UAP. And I found that to be quite interesting because of the language they're using to describe what's flying around.
Yeah, we've got multiple reports of UAPs taking off in the field to the north and south.
So as you can see, that's kind of interesting, right? I will admit, this is all very interesting. I saw a clip on Christian Harloff's show. He did a video and showed a clip of you talking about the drones and this sort of thing, and that's kind of been in the news a lot. So I was just curious if we could kind of dive into that. I'd love to get just your thoughts on this whole, I don't know what to call it, the drone
swarms.
The drone swarms. Okay, there
drone
we go.
swarms. That's the new thing. Drone swarms.
Okay. Yeah, what are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, first of all, the president-elect has gone public and stated that he is going to give a report on the drone swarms and explain it on January 21.
Yep.
I cannot wait. Remember this way: if he comes out and says it's a mixture of drones, which are ours, and NHI, non-human and tech, well, that is technically disclosure. It could be, all right, and of course that would be a very interesting thing, and well, it's huge.
Yeah.
And then what happens after that, I'm not sure. I'm thinking that it's not. Well, I mean, if he says it's non-human, or he may say we got some of our drones up there, and that's what you're seeing, but there's also some other stuff up there, and we don't know what it is. I don't know. But if he tries to actually explain the whole phenomena as drones, I can't wait to hear this. Right? The internet is not going to be kind because the internet is filled with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of video of this stuff being shared all over the world. So there's that. All right. But what can I say about that? I mean, I've looked at this from 8 ways to every direction possible. I've heard the various attempts to explain it by the internet, which is kind of a giant brain where millions and millions of people combine their mental power to come up with a solution. It's like an AI machine, whatever, of its own, a little crude, but still, it is powerful, right? The internet solves problems. It figures things out. It also creates massive disinformation, but whatever. And so the internet is feasted on this. Like, what is it? And the one thing that makes sense which is what I put forward quite a while ago, is still pretty much holding up. In other words, and I'm not referring to offshore Iranian drone ships, what they call drone ships, launching them in, to here. I'm pretty sure it's not Chinese drones, and by Chinese drones I mean real Chinese People's Liberation Army drones that somehow they've managed to get flying over our bases for some time, and we don't shoot them down. Okay, though I think the Chinese drone thing kind of got seized on because it was put out there, and the reason it's put out there is that I think at least one member of Congress is trying to get a bill to suppress the ability for people to buy Chinese drones on Amazon, because these real cheap but cool drones people are buying, a lot of them are manufactured in China. You get them on Amazon, whatever. Those are Chinese drones. I don't think that's it, right? But I understand how that got thrown in there. And so all ours, well, whatever. Anyway, those explanations are not working. But the coolest thing about it is what the government has had to say. Again, I've been watching the government squirm underneath the truth embargo, trying to deal with it, address it to the extent that people come at it for more than 20 years. It's really kind of fun, right? Yeah. It's kind of a comic opera in a way. And so this latest thing that's been going on for 2 years, by the way, and I've got the articles on my archive to prove it, really got in their face. For the last 2 years, there have been flyovers of something or another over military facilities and bases and ships, none of which are being shot down, right? But it didn't really get to the point where it was that big a deal. The Chinese spy balloon that kind of sprung a leak and got down into the airways, that was a big deal, and we had to go out and shoot that down. It cost $1 million. But that's an example of something flying around that was forced on their attention. But that was a balloon, still very embarrassing. And then couple of months ago, things just escalated. Whomp. More stuff, more in the sky, over more places. And that got the attention of the media to the point where they were going to force the issue. And so they dutifully assembled in briefing rooms over at the DOD in front of several people, Kirby being one of them, one of the key spokespeople. And I think it even came up in the White House, though not much comes up there these days. And so the government, after some time, had to respond to the situation, right? Yeah. And here's the response. This is how it went. This will go down in history. It happened several times, but I refer to one. I think it was a female journalist, God bless her. And she asked Kirby, what's going on here? Drone swarms. Okay, good. Okay, that's excellent. Okay. Are they ours? No. Oh, okay. That's interesting. All right. Well, then the next question is, well, are they in other countries? No. That's extremely interesting. All right. So do you know what's happening? I don't know. Now, history is going to feast on this one. It's going to be disassembled and analyzed and reviewed for the next couple of 100 years, because it's one of the great moments of illogic and dissembling that any democracy, I think, has ever done. Because we are a democracy. If we were a dictatorship, it wouldn't matter. Nobody's going to challenge it. You can say whatever the hell you want, right?
Sure.
But we are a democracy. We have a free press, and here it is. The first question. They're drones. We made clear they're drones. Okay. Are they ours? No. Okay. Could they have said yes? Because they are ours. Could they have said yes? They could have. But then the next question is, why have we been flying our own drones, different sizes, some even the size of cars, over military facilities and other sensitive facilities for 2 years? Nobody is told about it. Hasn't been said. Nothing was brought out. Why are we doing that? And there is no answer for that. There is no answer that wouldn't have the entire all the journalists in that room literally falling off their chairs laughing. And so they could not say they're ours. They had to say they're not ours. Okay, good. Then the next question is even tougher. Well, are they in other nations?
Yeah.
They can't say they are. They can't say they're in other nations. And they're saying again that these drones of various sizes have been flying over our facilities, around our ships, military bases, sensitive areas, and we've done nothing. Nothing. We don't shoot them down or use electronic devices to disable them. We don't send up really, except on a very rare occasion, a helicopter up there. Kind of no. We just let it happen. And some of those nations could be China or Russia or whatever. So they can't say they're another nation. They have to say no. Well, this is a problem. They cannot. How can they say it's not another nation? That's proving a negative. There's no way they could know that, right? There is simply no way that they could know it's not another nation if it's not ours. And so that statement is completely fallacious. Okay?
Sure.
And then the last question is, well, then what's going on? And the answer is we don't know, which is not as tough as the other two questions, except that they have just stated that there are craft in our airspace that are particularly focusing on sensitive facilities of our military and so forth, also some nuclear facilities. And we're not shooting them down, right? But we don't know where they are. All of this is utter insanity. It is kind of a confession that you get from somebody who, under a lot of pressure, just says, I am certifiably insane. I'm so sorry. I can't really respond because I am actually insane, and I need to be taken to a nice place where I can get treatment and not harm myself. I mean, literally, that was the situation that Kirby was in. Okay, now, of all of the explanations that kind of emerged out of the internet that had a chance of maybe explaining what the hell's going on, it took a while. It took about a month and a half into this thing exploding. I had not heard this before. It was the first time it came to my attention, and I have to say I admired it. I'm going, the internet is a giant brain, and this is pretty good. And what was it? Okay? In other words, what was this explanation that was going to finally allow us to take a breath and breathe out and relax? Well, it was this, that the United States is having to launch a huge number of drones, highly sophisticated, because we do have incredibly sophisticated drones that have never been seen. It's extremely classified work because drones are a big deal now. They're doing everything they can to make them sophisticated, whatever. If they can make them invisible, they make them invisible. The future of war is drones, whatever. Okay, that we're flying these all over in parts of the country because they are looking for the nuclear traces using very sophisticated equipment of what we suspect could be a weapon of mass destruction smuggled into the United States. This is what the internet came up with. And I'm going, okay, that's good. It might explain it. Okay. And I'm going, so it's not drones of some origin we don't know. It is our drones. There's a weapon of mass destruction they're looking for, and it could be anywhere. It could be in your city. It could be in Washington, New York. Pick a city. So just relax and don't bother us anymore. Okay. Now I understand the government's not saying this. This is what the internet is saying the government should acknowledge.
Sure.
And I'm going, nice try. Not a chance in hell that is. And in fact, some government spokesman did have to say, no, that is not. There's not a weapon of mass destruction. Okay. Okay. So the only explanation that works, and nobody has debunked this, right, is this: we have non-human events taking place. Something in the sky. If it's piloted by a non-human, it's not a drone. But if it's not piloted, it's a drone, whatever. But it also could be something else. These balls of light and plasma-like things that have been turning up off and on forever, going all the way back to the Foo Fighters in World War II, where balls of light were following planes around, and they had no idea what they were. Well, maybe they did. If, in fact, they did get a crash from 1933 that got in their hands prior to the war with the help of the Vatican or whatever, which is actually a legitimate area that's being looked at, then some people in our government may have known that, yeah, apparently there's some non-human stuff out there, but we're fighting a war here. And so we're not going to get into it. They didn't bother. They just followed the planes around. So it goes all the way back to there. But orbs, or whatever you want to call them, balls of light and others, but there's other stuff up there that is very much not like any drone that we know, have been going on for some time. What's happening is the amount of it. They're up there for hours. They're in groups of 2, 5, 8, 16, 20. They're moving in fleets. They're different places. Okay. So I think we can rule out ball lightning, fireworks, the classic flares, right? They cannot explain it. They could never explain this stuff. And so that is non-human phenomena that's been going on aggressively, right? That even swarmed around our ships going back over 2 years. And that's not human. Yeah. And they have escalated. They have simply escalated the phenomena for their reason. This is not casual, and we can talk about that. But that is a non-human situation that has really challenged the United States government big time.
Remember when Trump said this about the drones?
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth? They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been getting regular intelligence briefings?
Now, that was back in the middle of December of last year, 2024. It was kind of funny to say last year, 2024, but here we are in 2025, right? About 10, 11 days from Trump's inauguration, right, coming up. And yesterday in a press conference, Donald Trump gave an update on what he's going to do with the drones. He's claiming that the day after his inauguration on January 21st, he is going to let the American people know what is going on with the drones. Take a listen.
A story that kind of disappeared very suddenly. Do you have any idea whatever happened to the drones?
What happened to drones?
Well, you had said that you knew you thought the government knew what was happening with these drones over New Jersey. There were some by Bedminster.
I don't know. They're over Bedminster a lot, so I can imagine. I'm going to give you a report on drones about 1 day into the administration, because I think it's ridiculous that they're not telling you about what's going on with the drones. And it's not only with me. Glenn was telling me today that in Virginia they have drones all over the place too, and nobody's reporting it. I don't know why they're not. Do you want to say something about that?
Just one quick comment, which is we are home to the largest naval base in the world in Quantico, and we house a lot of the SEAL teams and have a huge national security infrastructure. And now for 2 years running, we have had drone incursion over secure airspace, and we still don't know why. And I think that's absolutely unacceptable. And I think President Trump and the new leadership coming in, I think, will work diligently to understand who's behind this and what we do in order to stop the digital surveillance of all of our secure infrastructure.
Is it dangerous?
Well, I can tell you this. While we were dealing with a terrorist attack in New Orleans, we had drones being flown over our nuclear reactors in Louisiana. And we brought that attention to the FAA. We've been asking the FAA to give these states the ability to mitigate these drones, and it's sitting on some bureaucrat's desk. And that's real.
Nobody knows. They don't want to talk about it. Go ahead, Governor, you're going to say?
I was just going to say we have drones in Wyoming flying over our infrastructure as well. And it's incredibly frustrating that we not only have no way of knowing what it is, but nobody knows how to deal with them.
They don't want to talk about it, and nobody knows why. They don't want to talk about it. That could be us sending drones. I hope that's the case, us doing it and doing research, and maybe they don't want to talk about it from that standpoint. I hope it's not an enemy, but we're going to find out on the 21st, the day after. You have to give me a little time for the inauguration, but shortly thereafter, we'll give you a report on it. We'll tell you exactly what it is. They know. And it's very strange that they aren't talking about it.
So, bam, there we go, man. Well, there's, a couple things from that clip, right? First, very excited that on the 21st, not too long from now here, right, just a little over a week, Donald Trump is going to reveal exactly what the American government knows about these drones. Let's hope that that's the case and he follows through with that, because I think a lot of people want answers, right, to this. Clearly, it's not made up. Clearly, something is going on, probably multiple things, and we would just like answers, right? The unknown is the scariest. So the fact that he's willing to, politics aside, right? Partisan politics aside, I should say, let's get the truth. So let's hope that happens on the 21st after Trump's inauguration. Now, the other part of this clip that kind of struck me as odd, scary, alarming was all these other people started chirping up, right? Other governors and, politicians saying, oh, we got drones over by us. And we got drones over here and over there and on our military bases and this and that. And wait, what? I mean, I knew it was kind of widespread, but this made it seem like, holy, this is happening everywhere, right? So something is clearly going on, right? So that was kind of alarming because, look, the video's not over. I'm going to give a little more context, right, to this and what Trump's saying, because is this drone, what are we going to call it? I don't know, the drone events, I don't know, the drone incursions, the mystery drones, whatever we're calling this whole thing. There's been reporting on it for a long time, right? Since December, parts of November. Some say it's been going on for years, right? I mean, take a look at this video of an alleged, right, drone over Bedminster where Trump has a place right there in New Jersey, right? These are the kind of things people have been seeing. So you can see, I mean, that's, you got all these things flying around, basically, right? Now, granted, there were a lot of misidentifications, people pointing out planes, choppers, stars, whatever. People got excited, right? I get that. But there were also actual things happening, right, that are unknown. Now, some people are saying the drones are ET, and, I'm not sold on that entirely just yet. To be honest with you, I've seen no evidence of that. But regardless, at the end of the day, I don't know anything. So, look, the news has been covering it for a long time. It's not like this is all made up. I mean, take a look.
The skies outside New York City tonight, the drone mystery over New Jersey, seen flying near President-elect Trump's Bedminster golf course and near a military base. The FAA now taking action. And here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight in central New Jersey, a mystery in the sky.
What the heck?
The FBI is now investigating multiple sightings of swarms of drones hovering menacingly overhead night after night for the last several weeks.
I can see 3 drones just in this view. There is another one over here and another one back here.
The drones have been described as larger than what a hobbyist might fly.
They made kind of a low hum, similar to what you would expect from a plane, a smaller plane.
Some of the drones have been spotted close to a military installation and President-elect Trump's Bedminster Golf Club, where he frequently stays. Tonight, the FAA says at the request of federal security partners, it is prohibiting drone flights over Picatinny Arsenal Military Base and Trump's golf course. From the Hindenburg to War of the Worlds, David, New Jersey has seen its share of aerial intrigue. Tonight, authorities say they understand the public's concern about the drones, but they say there's no immediate danger.
There's no immediate danger. Well, let's see. How can the government tell us that? Right? How can you tell us there's no danger when you don't know what's going on and you're not, or you do and you're not revealing? You know what I mean? Like, what is happening? So if you're saying there's no danger, then you're saying you know what's going on. And why won't you tell us? Why don't just say we know what's going on, but, you know, we can't tell you, instead of we don't know what's going on, right? You don't give the governor's answers. You don't even give the president-elect who's about to become in office answer, right? Like Trump is saying he doesn't even know, right? And he's going to find out, right? And then tell us, right? Because once he becomes president, he'll know, right? So this idea, it's all been stupid, okay? And I'm not bringing aliens into this or whatever, and some people can claim they are. Okay, that's fine. I don't know. Again, I have seen no evidence of that. But what I do know is the government has been, for no good reason, keeping silent on this. There's been a ton of UFOs swarming the Langley Air Force Base, and they're calling them drones, but they're not sure what they are. So technically they are UFOs, and this has become quite an issue. And one of them was caught on camera. So let's take a look at the whole report here from News Nation.
A recent drone activity over U.S. military airspace is fueling questions on what's being done to monitor such aircraft. U.S. Air Force. Several unmanned drones flew over Langley Air Force Base in Virginia back in December. It's been brought up at congressional hearings twice just this month alone. In one exchange, Senator...
We'll take a closer look at the actual video, too, so just be prepared. Don't worry. That's not the only... Let me back it up now, since I just interrupted all that.
Up at congressional hearings twice just this month alone. In one exchange, Senator Mark Kelly questioned the Joint Chiefs Chairman on why and how these drones got so close to sensitive military airspace. Take a listen.
One of the things we have to continue to work on is to continue to understand the technology that's moving forward and then move at the same pace as it was highlighted. We do have to move faster. And so it's an area that we collectively have to continue to work on. Not only here in defense here in the United States, but also at our forward locations where we have many of our service members deployed.
And this issue is the topic of the latest episode of one of our new podcasts. And right now, the link to Reality Check with Ross Coulthart is live. Just take out your phone, scan this QR code right here at the bottom of your screen, or visit News Nation's website or our YouTube page to get that link. But joining me now is Reality Check host and News Nation special correspondent Ross Coulthart. Ross, good to have you this morning. In your latest episode, you interview a witness to the mysterious drones that flew over Langley Air Force Base. Let's take a listen to what he had to say first.
Kind of confirmed to me that it was Langley when I would sometimes see a searchlight that would start flashing from the ground and kind of wave back and forth, never really focusing on any of them as they went past, but just kind of like just waving back and forth. The orbs, I would say, looked about car-sized. I mean, just from that distance. And they kept a very...
Again, he's calling them orbs, right? This is what he sees with the naked eye. And then when you film something, it does look different. It is true. What you see in person and then what you film, it just doesn't come across the same. So he's describing them as orbs. And, you know, I'll be honest, when I first saw the video, shout out, did a Skyfire News live stream last night. Go check that out. We talked about it, and I said it kind of looks like a plane at first, but it is true that the blinking lights are not uniform, whereas typically they're on a pattern with the plane, right? So that is true that that's not what's happening, but it is kind of blinking like a plane. So I don't know. I don't know enough about aviation or whatever, but again, he's describing them as orbs. I think that's important to keep in mind for context.
Car-sized. I mean, just from that distance.
Let me back it up.
Say the orbs, I would say, looked about car-sized. I mean, just from that distance. And they kept a very steady pace until they got over that location, in which they would start hovering over the base.
Yeah, so Ross, the government says they don't know the origin of these drones, but you see that video we played there to the right-hand side of the screen. What's your take on who could be sending drones over U.S. airspace?
And let's be real. So we got foreign adversaries sending drones with lights on them. Like, hey, look at us in the night sky. I mean, that makes zero sense. Right? Why would this drone have all this lights on it if they're trying to get surveillance over Langley, right? Like, it's nuts. That sounds crazy to me. So I just don't think it's a drone.
Well, firstly, good morning, Marky. The word they're using is drones, but there's no evidence that these are what we would call commercial or military drones. The witness that I interviewed, Jonathan Butner, he was close enough to see for sure whether there were propeller blades or any kind of propulsion system that was keeping these drones hovering in the air. And as he says, this was car-sized. These were large, orange orb objects with no visible means of propulsion. And this isn't just happening at Langley Air Force Base. These incidents are happening all across key military installations and particularly nuclear facilities all across the United States. And I know the Air Force likes to use the euphemism of drones because that offers a palatable possible alternative, that it might be a foreign adversary. But there has been no evidence presented of any foreign adversary being able to deploy drones in what at Langley Air Force Base is one of the most sensitive Air Force bases on the East Coast. This is where we've got F-22 Raptors. This is the forward defense for for Washington, D.C. This is a very, very important military base, and it's quite clear it's not possible to stop these objects from coming into that very, very sensitive military airspace.
Yeah, I know people.
I mean, Langley is a very sensitive U.S. military base near D.C. It's in Virginia. You know, this is like, you know, secret country. I've driven out there. I lived in Pennsylvania, and I've driven out through all of these mountains, and, you know, it's very secretive. Anything could be going on out there. This is where a big percentage of, you know, retired military, active military, you know, live out there, right? For its accessibility to DC as well. These are high-level people. This is a high-level base. This is concerning. And concerning that we can't do anything about it. Like, we can't prevent it or stop it. Or we don't know what's going on, like what it is. We can't even confirm drone. Again, they're calling it drone, but they can't confirm that. Right? So, yeah, it's concerning. For sure. Just take UFOs even out of the equation. That's concerning. But add in the element of UFOs, right? Car-sized orange orbs. I mean, that's crazy.
Have floated the idea of this being, you know, sent from China or Russia especially after we saw that Chinese spy balloon just last year. This latest episode also talks about how the Mexican drug cartels are using drones over our southern border. I mean, are drones changing the way American enemies are spying on us?
They are. Indeed, they are. I think the estimation from Northcom's commander has been that there's 1,000 drone incursions alone across the southern border of the United States, particularly from crime cartels in Mexico. And the alarming thing is that there are admissions that these drones are technologies far beyond what the United States is capable of producing itself. They're using highly advanced technology, obviously, to bring in illicit materials, perhaps weapons, perhaps drugs, and this is largely unregulated and unmonitored. It's a huge concern, and we interview Congressman Glenn Grothman in the story, who talks about this as a major issue of concern. What he also raises is concerns, frankly, that we need to ensure that there's greater reporting of anomalous objects that are seen in our skies so that these things are brought to the attention of authorities. Because
he's right. I'm going to put a link in the description. Go check out the rest if you want. Let's get to a closer look at this video.
this is a video shot by a local who was standing on the front lawn of his beach house near Langley Air Force Base across the water, filming on the evening of December 14th, right after sunset. He was watching what was meant to be that night's meteor shower. He says that around 7:15 he began to see red blinking lights from the direction of Virginia Beach coming in high and circling north of Langley Air Force Base, heading west and then passing directly over the base, heading east and back in the direction they came. It began as one or two coming every few minutes, and at its peak, he said, I would say there would be upwards of 5 over the base that would sometimes stop and hover directly over the base. This witness says they were always blinking from white to reddish orange. The blinking wasn't uniform, and these weren't planes. The lights were not on the ends of wings or rotors. They were round orbs of light. He's very clear on that point, this witness, which does tend to suggest some questioning to the drones explanation that's given in the Warzone periodical. It's a line that has been pushed by many in the defense media for some time, that the simplest explanation for what we're seeing here is drones. But are they? So we have a late-breaking development on this reality check story. The man who shot the videos, Jonathan Butner, has agreed to speak, audio only, to Reality Check. He was across the water from Langley Air Force Base on the evening in question in December, and he's now willing to give us his account of what he saw. And the fascinating thing is, he's pretty sure what he saw was indeed anomalous, not some kind of commercial drone, helicopter, or other aircraft. Good evening, Jonathan Butner.
Hello, Ross.
So, Jonathan, tell me what you saw in December last year. I understand we won't say exactly where, but you were in a premises, in a residence that was across the water from Langley Air Force Base. Tell me where you were roughly and what you started seeing.
Yes, sir. So, yes, I was at a residence on the southern side of the James River at about 7 p.m. on Thursday, December 14th. The sun was just going down for the evening, and it was supposed to be a meteor shower that night. So I was there, just planning on watching that. Directly across from me is Fort Eustis, then Newport News, and then Langley is off in the distance as well. But I began to see, right after the sun went down, I began to see these reddish orange blinking lights that started coming from the southeast of me, crossing the...
Hang on real quick. The more I see it, it does kind of, I'm just what I notice, okay? I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying the blinking does look uniform the more I see it. The other video, I was watching it, it was blinking on a pattern. So maybe I'm wrong.
James River. They began 1, 2, 3 at a time, kind of almost in a conveyor belt fashion. They would go north of Langley Air Force Base. It was what it appeared to me, which was about, I would say, 11 or 12 miles away, and then head towards the west, past it. But then they would kind of slowly turn and then go straight back over where I perceived where the base would be. It kind of confirmed to me that it was Langley when I would sometimes see a searchlight that would start flashing from the ground and kind of wave back and forth, never really focusing on any of them as they went past, but just kind of like just waving back and forth. The orbs, I would say, looked about car-sized. Just from that distance. And they kept a very steady pace until they got over that location, in which they would start hovering over the base.
Now, can I ask you this, sir? The official explanation at the moment is not really forthcoming, but the word drone has been used, i.e. to suggest that perhaps this is some kind of commercial or perhaps military drone of some kind. Is what you saw that night consistent with what you would think of as a drone?
Well, I think a lot of people seem to think that a drone is like kind of what we're used to seeing, something that you could put in a backpack and control with a remote control. I mean, these were large and they seem orb-shaped. You could say the word drone. I have no ways of knowing if they were manned or not, but these were not the drones with 4 blades on the edges. These were.
Can I ask you this? Do you think you would have heard? Obviously, you're over water, which does tend to amplify noise. If there were the helicopter propellers, if this was like a conventional drone with helicopter propellers, would you have heard it, do you think?
It was quite a distance. I would say it's probably over 10 miles, the ones that were going over the base.
Okay, there's no way he's hearing that.
But yeah, I've seen a lot of helicopters and I've seen a lot of planes from that vantage point, and I know what wings look like with the green light on one end and one red on the other, or if it was a Black Hawk with a tail rotor and also lights around there. These orbs were the lights, and they would go directly from that reddish orange right to white. It was not like a blinking on and off, and the blinking was not uniform either. To me, it looked like sometimes the orbs would be blinking at different beats as they went over the base, and it would sometimes change as I watched them. It appeared to me. So it was very unusual and not like anything I've ever seen on a regular aircraft.
So that, let's also be real. You're not at 10 miles away. You're not seeing a tiny drone that like the backpack drones up in the air. You're not seeing that 10 miles away. Unless it's just lit up with lights or something. I mean, completely 10 miles. That's a long, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'll be honest. It does look like it's blinking uniformly.
Copy. I just heard a boom.
Oh my God. I heard that boom too, but I didn't know it was actually outside. I thought it was a person in the hallway.
All right, so as you can see from these pictures here, right, this Cybertruck parked in front of Trump Tower. You can see the aftermath of the damage. Some fireworks and like fuel canisters were put in the back and exploded, and apparently could have been a lot worse. This is the guy here, his ID, that survived this explosion. And apparently he had shot himself in the head while he exploded this thing. So he was sitting in the Cybertruck when this happened. Now, here is part of his manifesto that we're going to get into here in just a moment, that allegedly came from him, right? That was sent and explains some things potentially of why he did what he did. Now, again, this is all alleged at this point. It cannot be confirmed 100%. But before we get into that manifesto, let's just get some details surrounding who this gentleman is.
Major developments in the investigation into the man behind the Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas. Late today, police saying the driver left behind notes on his phone detailing his actions and clues to a possible motive. Newly released surveillance video shows Army Green Beret Matthew Livelsberger at a Tesla charging station during his trip to Las Vegas. That chilling video of his final destination, the Trump Hotel. Authorities say Livelsberger died by suicide just before that blast. And they say in the notes he left behind, he railed against the United States, but he held no animosity toward the president-elect. And he wrote, quote, "This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call." ABC's Mola Langley leads us off in Las Vegas again tonight.
Tonight, authorities saying the highly decorated Green Beret suspected of using explosives to blow up that Cybertruck outside of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas left behind notes found on his cell phone, providing clues to a possible motive.
And in there, you can read a couple of the excerpts. We are the United States of America, the best country, people to ever exist. But right now, we are terminally ill and headed towards collapse. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Why did I personally do it now? I need to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took.
Officials confirming that 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger died by suicide just before the explosion. Master Sergeant Livelsberger was on approved leave from his base in Germany. A senior U.S. official telling ABC News there had been no red flags. Authorities releasing these new surveillance images showing him at a Tesla charging station as he made his way from Colorado to New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada. That Cybertruck rented via the app Turo. Livelsberger pulling into the hotel valet at 7:35 a.m. Wednesday before pulling out, returning an hour later. And then, 17 seconds later, the explosion. 7 bystanders injured. Sources say Livelsberger was divorced and had recently remarried. His wife reportedly telling authorities he'd been out of the house in Colorado Springs since Christmas following a dispute over infidelity. And while investigators say they found those notes railing against the condition of the United States, they say the soldier held no animosity towards President-elect Trump.
We've found that the subject held no animosity towards the president-elect. The Army indicates that he likely suffered from PTSD, and we are also aware that there were potential other family issues or personal grievances in his own life that may have been contributing factors.
Investigators scouring the suspect's background. FBI and local police searching this townhome in Colorado Springs. Neighbors stunned.
He seemed normal. His wife is very nice. They just had a baby.
Well, Mary, late today, the sheriff here in Las Vegas saying they are aware of a podcast claiming to have a letter from Matthew Livelsberger mentioning recent drone sightings in the Northeast and claiming that he was being followed by federal investigators. Now, authorities say they're not 100% certain it came from him, but they do believe it did. Mary?
Mola Langley with the disturbing new details tonight. Mola, thank you.
All right, and here's another news segment to give us a little more, again, background on exactly who Matthew was, why he may have done what he's done. And I'm sure there'll be more information to come out as time goes on. But as of right now, this is kind of where we're at.
All right, we have new details this morning about the man behind the Cybertruck explosion outside of Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Police say he was an Army veteran who took his own life before his rented vehicle exploded. CBS News correspondent Adam Yamaguchi has been following the latest from Colorado Springs, where investigators have been searching his home. Adam, what are we learning?
That's right. Investigators were here at his home up until yesterday or so. It's not entirely clear what they may have recovered or learned about the suspect. What we do know, again, was that he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head just seconds before his vehicle, that rented Tesla Cybertruck, had exploded in front of the valet area of that hotel, all of which took about 17 or so seconds. Also, what we're also learning about his background, he was a very decorated Green Beret, served in the military for 19 years, received 5 Bronze Stars. And so all of this just creates so much surprise and mystery about who this man was and why he did what he did.
Adam, what do we know about what investigators found inside the vehicle?
So they were able to recover a few personal effects, his military ID passport, a phone, smartwatch, as well as 2 handguns that he had just recently purchased legally, one of which he used to kill himself. What they also found in the vehicle were firework mortars, as well as a gas canister and camp fuel. Again, all of this was very surprising to investigators, as well as to some of his folks that he served time with, given the fact that he was a Green Beret. These operators are specialists in guerrilla warfare tactics. So there was a lot of surprise as to just how crude these devices were.
Adam, what are people in that neighborhood saying about the suspect?
So the neighbors here didn't really seem to know him very well. One neighbor who spoke out to the press said that he seemed friendly, She would sometimes see him out on the street and exchange hellos, but there was really wasn't that much familiarity with him.
All right, Adam Yamaguchi, thank you so much for your reporting. We appreciate it.
All right, now I have one more press conference news clip that I want to share, just again, for more background into this gentleman before we get into some of the odd things about it that have been pointed out, and this alleged manifesto.
Please keep in mind, this is a very extensive investigation, so there's a lot of content for us to review and examine. We're just showing examples and samples as we get them. There's more information as we go through it. But in this video, you can see even the distinctive jacket that he is wearing in that vehicle. The other thing that's important is the sheriff mentioned yesterday that Tesla sent to us engineers to come to Las Vegas to help us extract data from the vehicle. Thanks to their support, we were able to extract an SDMI chip from the Tesla vehicle, and Tesla was able to confirm to us using the data from the vehicle that the vehicle was not in full self-driving mode at any time during this incident. Finally, the last category just to touch on is motive, which I know everyone is very eager to try to understand and be able to explain what happened. I'll reiterate what the sheriff said is we still have a large volume of data to go through and a lot of content to go through. As you know, with any one of our devices, there's thousands, if not millions, of videos and photos and documents and web history and all of those things that need to be analyzed. But with that, just as a preview for as we get information, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. There were a couple pieces of content we thought were important to share for now. One is in the note application. He seemed to have two letters. One letter in particular, as you can see here, this is an excerpt from that letter. He says, fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves. He goes on to explain a variety of other grievances and issues, some political, some personal, a variety of other things, which we will do our best to release very quickly here. But then there's a second letter where there's some more excerpts. This one seems to be dated after the fact in that notes application. And in there, you can read a couple of the excerpts. We are the United States of America, the best country, people to ever exist. But right now, we are terminally ill and headed towards collapse. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Why did I personally do it now? I need to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took. I'd like to just also expand on that and understand that these are just excerpts in there. He does offer additional information that is varying on the spectrum in terms of political grievances, issues about the conflicts elsewhere, not here, domestic issues, societal issues, a variety of other things, including personal challenges as well. We are intending to release those initial letters so people can understand the best they can what the person's thought process was at one point in time. However, please understand there is still a lot more content to go through, and that may change. There may be a lot more information that we recover that explains either more or shows a change in mindset at different times.
Now, let's start getting into some of the interesting things about this story. As this has come out, and apparently this gentleman was part of some, History Channel reality show with other former Green Berets, which is kind of interesting, right? So take a look at this clip from Inside Edition.
It's a reality show that pits teams of elite soldiers from around the world against each other.
Matt and Tim from the U.S. Army Special Forces, better known as the Green Berets.
Matthew Livelsberger and his partner Tim Kennedy, both Green Berets, appeared on the Ultimate Soldier Challenge 12 years ago on the History Channel.
While the other guys are still setting up, the Americans take their first shot at the sniper on the top of the tower.
They not only won, it wasn't even close.
For television, they always try to make it a little bit more competitive, but we swept the whole entire show.
When he appeared on the show, Livelsberger used a shortened version of his name, Matt Berg, so it took Tim Kennedy a while to put two and two together.
It took about 12 hours of me seeing some photos as more photos started coming out of who he was, and then I saw a Matt Berg with a older photo of him, and I was like, oh no, dude, I know that guy. And then it just like tore my heart out because he was a really great Green Beret.
And what was he like?
He was charming. He was talented. He was personable. He was kind. He was all the things that you would expect from a Green Beret.
At one point during the show, Livelsberger had to stop taping in the 90-plus degree heat. He was suffering from heat exhaustion.
I'm about to throw up, man. I got heat exhaustion, man. I need to take this off right now.
Tim Kennedy says he hadn't heard from Livelsberger for a few years.
It just categorically does not make sense. From everything that I have heard, he was universally valued by his team, by his peers. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense, and it is just horrifically heartbreaking.
All right, so let's point out one more thing that's kind of interesting about this gentleman. I'm going to show you a clip of this gentleman at a Tesla charging station that's been found right before the attack happened, and see if you can notice what I and many others noticed about this video. Pay attention closely. All right, did you notice it? The guy is cleaning the dirt out of this thing. Who cares? You're about to go do something, honestly, I don't know the right word to use, right? Not good, right? And you're worried about the dirt? I agree. This is weird, okay? This is weird. It's almost like, did the guy know he was going to do that? Right, but I mean, he rented this Cybertruck, right, on a app called Turo, which, honestly, I used that app when I went to New Orleans to rent a car, right? People use it all the time, so it's not some big deal like, oh, he's using Turo. Well, that's like saying someone ordered food from Uber Eats. Like, it happens. But he's very calm and cleaning the dirt out. I mean, it's just kind of a weird thing. Maybe it's just something, maybe it's innocuous, maybe it's nothing, but I don't know, just pointing out all the things that are interesting, right, about the story. Now, let's get into this manifesto a little bit, this alleged manifesto, and then we'll kind of break down different parts of the manifesto that are also interesting, right? And, you know, I don't even know where to begin with this story. There's so much information going out and misinformation, disinformation. It's hard to keep it all together. So I'm hoping this deep dive here today will help you kind of better understand what's going on. I put links to everything I'm showing you today down below. So you can go research yourself, verify all this stuff, look into it yourself, because there's a lot out there, right? And especially this manifesto. Is it real? Did this manifesto that is being shared, did this actually come from the guy, right? Because that is what cannot be verified. So it makes it hard to then look at the manifesto and take what's in it seriously. First, we need to verify it actually came from this guy, right? But first, let's go over this manifesto, which dropped on Sean Ryan's show, right? This guy named Sam Shoemate, okay, goes on Sean Ryan's show and shares that he was sent this manifesto. Now, to be fair, he also states that potentially this manifesto was sent to other people, and he's telling other people, check your inbox, maybe you have something from him too, and he had sent it out, right? But he had specifically said that he wanted this to get to Sean Ryan, right? So I've got a few different clips from Sean Ryan's show. Again, full link in the description. Go check out the full thing. There's a lot more in there that I'm not going to show you today. But I've separated a few different clips to kind of give us just more context, right, about this manifesto, this alleged manifesto that implicates, you know, UAPs, UFOs, y'all aliens, right? What? How does this all end? The drone situation? I mean, it's kind of it's like a nice bow, right, brought in. It's like, okay, of course it's all connected to this, but is this for real? Is this just misinformation, right? So let's hear a little bit more from Sam and Sean on their show. Here's the first clip.
We can't give it 100% credibility. Right. I think you would agree with that as an intelligence analyst.
100%.
And then additionally, there are a few names, 2, I believe, that we are redacting from this because they are still operational. And as much as I would love to release those names, we're not gonna do it so that those guys can remain undercover and not burn their entire operation of what they're into right now. And there was one more thing. I want to give a little background on you. Retired from the Army in 2023 as a CW2 intelligence officer and understand the information war. In 2020, you were still on active duty. You started a social media account where you intended to share memes and GIFs. Despite your intentions, the account grew into what it is today. You've developed, what is the account's name?
It's an Instagram account, goes by Terminal CWO.
Terminal CWO. You've developed a robust network of service members across the Department of Defense who trust you with their reports of unethical and, in some cases, illegal behavior from their leaders. You expose the unethical and illegal behavior while protecting whistleblowers in order to hold military leaders accountable, which is why you received the email from the Green Beret. And because of your background, you come across wild information all the time. You're here today because of an email you received from Matthew Livelsberger a couple of days before the Cybertruck bombing at Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. You'll also be able to discuss what you know about the terrorists who conducted the New Orleans attack. Did I miss anything?
No, that sums it up. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll give a background on why that's significant so your viewers understand how this came into my inbox.
Perfect. One other thing that I just wanted to say to the audience is, even though we are redacting these names from the episode, you passed that, I believe you passed that email on to the FBI.
Yes.
We're also going to pass it on to our contacts at the FBI.
So again, if you want to go check out the full interview, there's way more here that I'm not going to show, but that gives us a little better understanding of kind of how he came across this thing, who this guy Sam is. Is he legitimate, right, that's bringing this forward? Because more on him in this manifesto a little bit later in the video. I just want to show all sides, right? But let's get back to this interview with Sam and Sean. Here's the second clip from their interview.
Well, I kept seeing this comment on recent posts that I put in there, and it was from this burner account that said, hey, check your DMs, check your DMs, check your DMs. So I go in there and try to find it. There's no message from this guy, hadn't come through or whatever. And then he messages again once that message was opened up. And I said, hey, your previous messages haven't come through. What do you want to tell me? And he said, what I'm going to send you, now these are literally his words, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. That was his phrase, change the course of humanity. Okay, a little bit dramatic. I get these messages all the time. People have this big story they want to tell. They want to expose their command, whatever. I take everything with a grain of salt until I have evidence and proof. So this guy is insistent. He tells me that he is a 18 Zulu who I've spoken to before, and he really needs to get this stuff to me. And then he talks about you. He says, I need you to get me in contact with Sean Ryan. I'm like, dude, I don't know Sean Ryan. I'm not that big, but he's insistent that I get him diverted to media sources, says go to Fox News, whatever else. And I said, all right, tell me what you got. So I give him my Proton email account, give him my signal number. And he reaches out immediately. And I'm going to read this initial message for you because this doesn't have names or anything else on it, but this was his message on Sunday. He reached out and said, like I said, this last Sunday, he said, sending with a VPN active on Wi-Fi only. Do not message me. I will send out updates via both Signal and email, but trust me, you're going to want to be involved. Well, first of all, no, I didn't want to be involved. Anyways, and then, so I didn't message. I responded back to his original Instagram message, and I said, hey, I got your message on Proton Mail, and he said, cool, delete this. So I deleted it. That's how I ended up getting this message on Tuesday. So the message that this right here, this manifesto, if you want to call it that, came in on Tuesday. And when I started reading this, my initial take was, okay, this is off the deep end. It's bonkers. I can't validate or verify any of the stuff in this manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that in a subsequent email. And I'll read that to you later, my response to him. And once again, my response to him elicited, hey, get me in contact with Sean Ryan, Fox News, and he even said Pete Hegseth. Get me in contact with Hegseth. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the incoming Secretary of Defense's phone number. Sorry, bro. That's the last time I talked to him. So yesterday morning.
What date was that?
That was Tuesday. That was this Tuesday. So we're Friday now. That was 3 days ago.
So
the day before.
30th?
Yeah, the day before the attack.
All right, so this is the moment you've been waiting for. If you haven't already read this manifesto, again, there's links in the description. Go read it for yourself. But let's get to this manifesto being read out by Sam, right, to Sean. And then, again, we'll kind of break down some of the red flags of this manifesto and just the story in general, right? Pay attention. Here we go.
So this email came in on December 31st at 10:42 a.m. That is Tuesday. He said, in case I do not make it to my decision point or on to the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 January and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones, he puts that in quotes, he says drones, is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the U.S. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPSEN, that's Operations Center, our OPSEN location for this activity is in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they used the balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comms system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. U.S. government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive VBID. Let me pause right there for a second. So he says a massive VBID. When I was talking to the FBI yesterday, they didn't know what a VBID was. I had to explain what that acronym meant, literally.
You fucking serious?
Dead serious. I said it twice and he goes, you said that word VBID. Can you tell me what that is? For your audience, a VBID, for your audience who has not been in the GWOT for the last 20 years, a VBID is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. In layman's terms, a car bomb, what we saw at Trump Tower. So, backing up, he says, I am armed and have a massive VBID. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. Here's where he gets into the other stuff, and this is where we had to redact the names. Well, your producer redacted the names. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas, that's civilian casualties, that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. U.S. FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with U.S. FORA, an agent, redacted, of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with redacted IO staff on this as well as the response to Bala Murghab. Redacted commander at the time, redacted can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. Then he says, for vetting, My LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18 Zulu out of 110, that's 1st Battalion, 10th Special Forces Group. My profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP, USAP access.
What is USAP? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is. But I checked his credentials on LinkedIn. So that was the first thing I did. I went to his LinkedIn page. First thing I noticed was all of his bona fides were in place. He has all the UAS training from USASOC and everything else. And so I said, okay, at least the guy knows what he's talking about with drones. That was a very rough dig into the guy. But my issue was I couldn't validate or verify any of this information. And I told him that.
All right. So, again, this is interesting for sure. Now, let's break down that kind of, we'll get to that last part at the end where they show like some coordinates and stuff. More on that in a second, because that is quite fascinating when you find out what exactly that is and where that is. All right. But first, here's a comment from, officials commenting on this manifesto and its potential legitimacy. Take a listen.
Yeah, so in terms of the so-called manifesto that's circulating online, we have strong evidence to suggest that it was the subject that wrote it, but we haven't conclusively proven that yet. And that evidence relates to other evidence that we're finding that we're able to compare that lead us to believe it was in fact him who sent it.
All right, so that's interesting, right? I still think it's, not definitive, right? And truth is, I don't know if we'll ever know, right? But regardless, let's get a different viewpoint from a video that's being shared, all over as well, kind of, combating the legitimacy of this email. In fact, this next person I'm about to show you is even alleging that this person, Sam, who was on Sean's show, wrote the email himself, right? And it's just fake, this whole thing. That's quite an allegation. And again, I'm not saying that is what's happening. I just want to show all the sides and what's out there. You can decide for yourself. This is one of those very important moments where you are going to have to decide for yourself. Don't let someone tell you what's going on. Please decide for yourself. You might have to do your own research on this one. I realize time is of the essence, but if you have time, do a little digging yourself and kind of piece some pieces together. Hopefully this video can give you some ideas and some starting points, right, with all the links that I provided and the clips that I've shown today. But this is one of those moments you're going to have to decide for yourself on this. Has the explanation for these drones finally been given? Well, that's the word, but there's more to the story, and it's confusing as ever. So buckle up, y'all. All right, here we go. They held a classified drone briefing yesterday. So we're going to be talking about that and some of the responses. And one of the responses that came out right after the briefing in a press conference here, I'm going to show you. They kind of explain what it is. At least that's the word from this gentleman here. I will say the volume is really low, so I recommend turning up the volume when I hit play on this video, okay? So I'm going to just be silent for a second so you can turn up the volume. Okay, here we go.
These sightings in New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere they're being cited, are federal government operations. And they are not. We were assured, and we asked this question over and over and over again. They are not federal government operations to sniff radiation, gas, recovery, anything else. Number two, they remain committed to their message that there is zero evidence of laws being broken by any of these drones. And the context here was the fact that when Josh and I live probably equidistant from Midtown Manhattan, the New York metropolitan area is the most crowded airspace in the world, with Newark, Teterboro, White Plains, LaGuardia, Newark, JFK. There is a lot of commercial aircraft in the air, general aviation aircraft in the air. There are 800,000 registered drones in this country, and then millions and millions of many unregistered drones. Because if you have a drone that weighs less than about half a pound, that need not be registered. These sightings in New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere they're being cited, are federal government.
Okay, so here, let's kind of go over here. New Jersey drones are federal operations. After attending a classified briefing in secure compartmented information facility, a SCIF Jim Himes said these sightings in New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere they're being cited, are federal government operations. Let's listen to that video one more time.
These sightings in New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere they're being cited, are federal government operations, and
they're federal government operations.
Are not. We were assured.
Well, let's listen again.
These sightings in New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere they're being cited, are federal government operations, and they are not. We were assured, and we asked this question over and over.
I think, am I listening to that right? I think he's saying they're not federal government operations. Right? Am I hearing that too? Can anyone help me out in the comments, y'all? What do you guys think? Is he saying not federal government? Put not in the comments if that's what you think. Yeah, let me rewind. I'll play it again. Listen to what he says.
These sightings in New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere they're being cited, are federal government operations, and they are not. We were assured, and we asked this question over and over and over again.
Do you see? He says they're federal government operations, but they are not. We were rest assured. Right? But do you see what I'm saying? But the Twitter going out, the message is they are federal government. But I think he's saying we were asking that, and they assured us they're not federal government operations. They are not searching for anything, right? Am I reading that wrong? They are not. Yes, thank you. Okay, y'all are hearing the same thing I am. So do you see how this stuff spreads wrong? So, and nothing against this guy, Jay Anderson. He runs a show called Project Unity. But he's saying breaking New Jersey drones are federal operations, but that's not true. He's right after this quote that he puts, he says they are not. Like he's, you know what I mean? They were assured they're not federal government operations. I'm going to play it one more time just for let's be sure here, because I don't want to be wrong. But that's what I'm hearing. All right, turn up the volume. I have it all the way up, guys. It won't go any further. So I'm going to be silent. Let's listen carefully. It's really here at the beginning.
These sightings in New Jersey, Connecticut, anywhere they're being cited, are federal government operations, and they are not. We were assured, and we asked this question over and over and over again. They are not federal government operations to sniff radiation, gas, recovery, anything else.
Well, right there. He says it again. They are not federal government operations. So that's interesting. So why tweet this out like this? It has 1.8 million views, y'all. And it's wrong. They are not government federal operations drones, right? That's what they're saying. Because what I'm saying checks with the rest of the messaging, as you'll see as we go through some of these clips that I have, right? So that's it. So the word is being spread wrong that they're admitting they are government operate. And some people aren't going to watch that video. They're just going to read that quote and move on. New Jersey drones are federal operations, but he clearly says they are not. Again, because that checks with some of the other responses to this. So hang on. Let's, I bookmarked a whole bunch here. All right. So this is 12 seconds, but you'll see this is Senator Richard Blumenthal following classified briefing on mystery drones by FBI, CIA, and DHS. He says, our federal government has no idea, no clue, no reliable information about these drones. Let's listen to him.
We've received only minimal information, which leads me to believe that our federal government has no idea, no clue, no reliable information about these drones. We've received only...
You guys like that Fight Club frame insert there by Red Panda Koala? Guys, if you want up to date by the second of what's happening, go follow Red Panda Koala on Twitter, man. The dude is doing such a great job of covering every single thing that's happening about this. Just clips, just keeping you informed, just reporting. Boom, boom, boom. It's just everything. But good. I'm glad we got that cleared up, right? Because again, the word is spreading that, oh, they figured it out. Finally explained, right? Like my title says, right? Like, but that's not true, right? That is not true. Now, I'm not saying what they are. I'm just saying that reporting is not true. That quote by Jim Himes is taken out of context, and the rest of the quote isn't shown for some reason. So be careful out there, y'all. All right, let's go to the next clip. So again, after this classified briefing, people are walking out completely disappointed. Okay. Why is it? Okay, that's my bad. Hang on, I got, yeah. Now let's watch this. Okay, so they had a Pentagon press briefing about this, and people are wanting to know, why was the briefing classified? If it's not the federal government doing it, why is it classified? Why wasn't this a public hearing so we could all hear what's going on? If there's nothing to hide here, have a public hearing and talk about it, right? All right, let me play this clip. Again, this is from the press conference from the Pentagon yesterday.
Why does it have to be a classified briefing if these are just hobbyist drones? They're not military drones. Why is it a classified briefing on the Capitol Hill?
I'd have to refer you to Congress on that. Again, sharing as much information as we can here. I don't have the briefing in front of me, so I can't tell you specifically, what aspects are classified or not. I can assure you that, again, we are sharing as much information as we can based on what we know.
Why does it have to be a classified briefing if these are just hobbyist drones? They're not military.
Yeah. A 30-minute press conference with zero information and zero answers. It's like, I don't even know why they have those things. Honestly, this is completely pointless. It's almost like the government's like, it's such a weird approach. It's like, do they forget who they're governing? Does that make sense? The government forgets who they're governing. The government needs the American people. We don't need the government. It's like they forget who's in charge. Drives me nuts. All right. This next clip again from Red Panda. Look at this guy, man. Again, doing such a great job covering all of this. All right. So yesterday or the day before, we covered a case because it keeps being talked about. So Ryan Graves went on Joe Rogan and talked about the drone situation, which was great, to be honest. And the first thing they got into was this idea that, sort of radioactive material was missing, and maybe that's what these drones were searching for, and it could be, WMD. I mean, we're talking loose nuke. They're calling it the loose nuke theory. All right. And we covered exactly what it is. It's nothing. It ended up being, a piece to a scanner in a hospital, right? That's missing. Like it's way overblown. So Ryan Graves gives a little more context on this, and I think we definitely should listen to this.
The scariest one that I've heard is that the drones are looking for gamma radiation because there's a missing nuke.
Yeah, let's address that first.
Please.
So there has been a lot going on. I made a next post about this yesterday to try to assuage some fears. So
I saw it, but I purposely didn't read it because I wanted to get it from you.
Yeah. So, I've had the privilege of interacting with a lot of government organizations over the past few years as I've been digging down this rabbit hole. Law enforcement, at a federal level, DOD, executive branch, legislative branch, and some of the folks that I've come in contact with, they specifically work on weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so that's their job. So if there's a loose nuke in the United States, among other agencies, they would be some of the people that would be sitting in a skiff for 24 hours a day trying to figure out where it is and to go get it, right? So you can imagine that would be their number one priority, right? So I engage with these folks. I ask them, what's the sense here? People are kind of starting to panic a little bit, and this message is getting out there more and more broadly. And they assured me that's not the case, that there is not a loose nuke or other type of weapon of mass destruction that these objects, whatever they are pursuing right now. Otherwise, they would be working in a skiff nonstop to make that go away, that problem go away. So, that's part of why I have a high confidence level that this is not a response to a massive imminent, weapons of mass destruction threat on the eastern seaboard. So I just want to try to dispel that rumor right now. I've seen a lot of talk of that online. And I don't, although this is I think a dangerous and scary situations going on right now, at least from that particular angle, that's not the indications I'm receiving.
Excellent. Thank you, Ryan Graves, for saying that. I agree. Concur.
The scariest one that I've heard.
Because again, once you look into more of the story, you find out exactly what it is, right? So yes. Look, we got a few super chats. Let me answer these real quick. Monkey Boy, Green Street has made an actual useful video regarding these drones. Okay, that's interesting. Green Street has still not recanted a story he put out that was wrong, that I busted him on, with the oh god, I can't remember the guy's name, but the fake UFO video from the Belgian UFO wave, right? He had switched out the pictures. I made a video on it. He still has not recanted that story. So that's interesting. But all right, he made a video about drones. I'm sure it's just like scary drones, goblin drones, Jay Stratton, Will Zondo, right? Like the key things. All right, Andre Wright says maybe it's us and them looking for lost tech. That's interesting. All right, let's say a UFO crashed, and then we're out looking for it, and the aliens are out looking for it, and that's what we're seeing, just a mixture of all that. And then you've got the hype, the hysteria just from people and putting on social media, so they're just filming everything, right? You got a mix of all this stuff. I mean, I guess, hey, listen, I've always wondered, what about modern UFO crashes, right? We talk about all these old cases of crash sites and all that. Where's the modern ones, right? Where's the 2024 crash sites, the big ones? Where are those at? So maybe that is it. Knight's Glory, the government looking for monitoring, hunting UAP. Yeah, I guess that's everything's a possibility till we know, I guess. The probability I pay attention to be honest with you. But all right, yeah. And that's the problem, right? Because they can't explain anything, right? So then we're left with this, our imagination running wild of what's exactly happening. All right, so this is a great, we'll get back to that classified briefing in a second, but I want to play another clip from Ryan Graves on Joe Rogan, because this is something that I brought up in our Discord open mic that I find interesting, is that these drone waves sightings, right, happen around the same time a lot. Because I remember last year there was some, and then the year before, right? So I was just like, why does it keep happening around December, right around this time of the year? So let's listen to this.
There's a lot of good questions there. Let me back up by starting with the fact that this started about 2 years ago, at least. So,
but not like this.
A little bit like this.
Really?
So,
in this volume?
Not in this volume. That's the differentiator right there. But so Langley Air Force Base, you might be familiar with the fact that they had drone incursions of an unknown type, unknown origin last year. right where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
That also happened the year before over Langley. Unknown objects operating over the base. They couldn't tell where they're going. They were unprepared for them. Same period of time, 2-3 weeks before Christmas. This is year 3, right? And they were expecting them to come again for third year in a row over Langley. And there was, some effort put forward to be able to better understand these when they came back. And they did come back, but they came back in a much wider swath, right? Now we have them all over New Jersey, all the way up to Massachusetts. And it's hard to tell exactly with the quality of the reporting right now, because it seems to be, the bigger this story gets, the more people are just looking up and seeing anything and pointing it out. But there are reports from Texas to Florida to California, Ohio, Minnesota, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's not just New Jersey itself.
Yeah, I agree. It's not just New Jersey. And same time, a lot is happening. Again, clearly something is happening, right? This idea, well, there's nothing going on. It's just people misidentifying planes and stuff. No, that's part of it for sure. And stars and planets that they shoot out of focus, and absolutely. But that is not.
So there's a lot of good questions there. Let me back up.
All right. Let me address this question right here. This comment. Checkmate. Patrick, why do you think you know so much about what's happening from basic sleuthing on social media? You seem so convinced on what. I'm not convinced on anything. That's the whole point. Checkmate. Right. Let me checkmate you right here. That's the whole point. I've been saying that every stream I've done since Monday. We don't know what's going on, right? I've literally said over and over again, every possibility is still open, right? I don't know how more open-minded I need to be, right? I've been saying people telling you that they know what it is, I would be weary of. I've literally said that. So I don't know where this comment is coming from, but I've been seeing it a lot. I'm not convinced on anything. That's the whole point. The only thing I'm convinced of is that our government, the American government, is incompetent. And I think they do know, but they're not telling us. Again, let's rewind. What did I just say? I think, meaning that's my opinion, right? That's all I'm doing here, guys. I'm reporting on different stuff, bringing different videos up, what people are saying, and I'm kind of giving my opinion. But of course, have your own opinion on what's going on. You're watching the same stuff, you're doing the same sleuthing, if you will, but I'm not trying to say anything about anything, to be honest, because we don't know, right? But people just saying it's aliens and just 100%, I'm sorry, I don't believe that either. People saying it's federal government operation. It's not federal. It's not that. I don't know what it is, because there's so much reporting. There's so much being reported on this. It's almost impossible to tell what exactly is going on. All right, let's go to the next clip. All right, we're going to come back to this Chris Mellon thing. All right, so this is from Ryan Graves. I'm going to read a post that he put. I found this quite interesting. Okay, so this is about everything that's happening. All right. More mysterious overflights of military bases by unidentified objects will come to light. That's interesting. So that's news right there, right? Apparently, we're going to find out about more military bases, right, with unidentified objects. Okay. I think a spark started this incident. Maybe Picatinny Arsenal or the nearby Trump golf course, which fits a troubling pattern years running. It's not just hobbyists mixed with foreign spying with hobbyist drones like the Vandenberg Space Force Base arrest of a Chinese national, which I've covered on the channel a couple times, or the unexplained Wright-Patterson Air Force Base incident. The unidentified objects over Langley Air Force Base of Virginia were not affected by electronic countermeasures, and pilots sent to check it out could not lock on, as I told Joe Rogan yesterday. Meanwhile, the White House points to widespread misidentifications by civilians and says nothing nefarious to downplay the underlying gravity of a problem senators on intel and armed services like Marco Rubio and Senator Gillibrand have been calling out for years. The stakes are much higher now. Once opened, this door doesn't close. Why has this indifference lasted so long? It's time for the new administration to make identifying unknown objects in our airspace a priority. Well, I agree. I agree with that. So shout out to Ryan Graves for that statement. All right, this is interesting. This is also from Ryan Graves' interview with Joe Rogan, where he brings up about Elon. Because this is fascinating. Okay. And in fact, you know what? I'm gonna play you one clip before I play you that. So Jesse Michaels put up a clip yesterday, which we have to watch. Let me see it. Oh, come on, Jesse, where is it? Oh no, I can't find it. That's interesting. Man. Okay. All right. I'll have to come back. I should have found it earlier. But he this is the gist of it. He played a clip from his interview with Science Bob McGuire, as he's known online. Okay, Bob McGuire, who is very familiar with Chris Bledsoe, right? Experiencer Chris Bledsoe, author of UFO of God, but also very familiar with a gentleman named Tim Taylor, who I have covered on this podcast many times. Okay, because I think he is one of the most, I think he is the most fascinating figure behind the scenes concerning UFOs. A name most people don't know, but when you look into his story, it's mind-boggling, right? This is a gentleman that was referenced in Chris Bledsoe's book, but also Diana Pasulka's book, right? Took Diana Pasulka and Gary Nolan out to a secret crash site in the desert where they purportedly found UFO materials and took them from there to be studied. You've heard of this like frog skin like material, right? That you mentioned on Joe Rogan, but this person, Tim Taylor, keeps coming up because Tim Taylor told Diana Pasulka he was in a secret space program. Now, again, I've covered Tim Taylor, him downloading information, right? That's what's called a download, where you get it from, literally, just to put it bluntly, from aliens. You download information from aliens, and then you start a company or an invention or something based on that information you got, right? And supposedly something new came out about Tim Taylor. Apparently, he reports to a man named the Hammer. That's it. That's it. I thought Jesse had shared it from a clip from his interview with Science Bob McGuire. The Hammer, right? Who is this person? Who is the Hammer, y'all? Because the reason I bring it up is because I'm about to play this clip of Elon Musk. Well, Tim Taylor was and could still be Elon Musk's SpaceX handler, right, for NASA, because Tim Taylor works for NASA. I mean, he's called the Dragon. He gets his own space to watch the launches. Like, this is a dude, with a lot of power in NASA, and he is Elon's SpaceX handler, right? At least he was at one time. And his connection to Elon Musk is quite interesting when you consider what Elon Musk has said about aliens, UFOs in the past, right? It's just very interesting. So listen to what Joe Rogan says about Elon Musk and aliens and UFOs, because I find this fascinating.
To get Elon Musk to have like a special UAP task force within the community. Notes.
Elon is, look, he's oddly sly about this stuff. He, outwardly dismisses UFOs. He said, "Well, if they're very subtle." That's just. I'm
One might
okay.
expect that, but okay.
But I just feel like with his contracts with NASA and being involved in SpaceX, he can't talk crazy.
Yeah.
He talks crazy so much about other stuff, but when it's in this, fucking multi-billion-dollar company that he runs, I don't think he can fuck around.
Yeah.
I don't think he can. If it was something that he had just no interest in at all in terms of like financial interest and business interest, I'm sure he would be commenting on it, but he's not commenting on it at all, which makes me go, and I don't think he's going to tell me. I don't think I can call him up because I got a big mouth. I think he knows. I'll be out here talking about it. A guy I know.
Can't tell you.
Yeah, it's
So very interesting. Just saying. I think Elon does know way more that he's letting on. But I will say this argument is interesting, right? Joe's saying, well, he's got all these government contracts, so maybe that's why he doesn't talk about it. He's not speaking his mind. But let's be real. The Elon Musk of the last 3-4 years, maybe 5 even, is not afraid to speak his mind at all. In fact, that's kind of his thing. I mean, he bought Twitter, right, and turned it into X. And he's constantly saying crazy stuff, right? If just using crazy in the context of Joe Rogan, I'm not saying it's actually crazy, but I'm just saying using his words. So I find that interesting. I think there may be a deeper reason of why Elon Musk doesn't talk about it, because he knows about it. I think if he didn't know, he would be speculating and throwing out stuff more than he does. But I think he definitely knows something. Again, his connection to Tim Taylor is fascinating. And me learning about Tim Taylor's, who he reports to, someone called the Hammer. Now I want to know, who is this person? Who is the Hammer, right? Can't touch this. Better not be MC Hammer, y'all, because I will be pissed, right? But the Hammer, what kind of name is that? The Hammer, y'all. So I don't know. The plot thickens. Let me address the super chat real quick. Then we'll move on here. Johnny T, thank you. Hey, Pat, the other day I thought maybe it's AI doing exactly what the government and others feared most. AI doing what it could do because it can. Just saying. I'm not sure I understand you, Johnny, to be honest with you with this. What do you mean AI is doing exactly? You think AI is a part of this somehow, or what are you getting at here? Maybe someone else understands a little bit. But I'm not sure I entirely know what you mean. All right, let's but thank you for sending that in, man. Hopefully someone else will see that and respond in the comments. All right, let's move on. Okay. All right. Joe Biden has responded about the Mystery Jones. Finally, right? Joe Biden. Poor guy here. Definitely not all together, man. I just feel bad. But okay, let's hear what he has to say. Right? So he's asked about the drones.
Drones over New Jersey. What's behind all of that? Nothing nefarious, apparently. But they're checking it all out. I think it's just one. There's a lot of drones authorized up there. I think one started and they all got it. Everybody wanted to get in the deal. But we're following it closely. So far, no sense of the danger. Will you think the Prime Minister?
So let me, he's saying nothing nefarious. He's saying some of them are authorized to be up there. And that other people jumped on it and wanted to be part of the deal. But they're looking into it, but nothing to worry about. I'm even more worried hearing this answer. First of all, why are they doing a press conference right by the back of the engine of an airplane on the tarmac? Seriously? They couldn't do this in the lobby or somewhere else? Like, so stupid. Yeah, go ahead. Ask your questions. And it's just like complete the sound. Oh my God. It's insane. No respect. But I have to be honest, Joe's answer is quite confusing, if I'm being honest. I just don't even know what any of that means. Some of them are authorized. Is that why it's classified? Is this some of our own stuff? Again, I do think there's multiple answers to this. I don't know if we'll ever find out the truth, man. I really don't, about all of this. People are going to claim to know the truth, but you're going to hear different truths. You're going to hear different answers. And this is just one more example of, I mean, this is the president of our country. What else is talked about so much in the country right now besides this, right? There are other things, but this is one of the top things people in America are concerned with, right? I mean, and these sightings are happening in other parts of the country, but just specifically America. It's such an important thing here to literally address it for 20 seconds is all you got. I think the president should address it a little bit more, in my opinion, right? 20 seconds is effing ridiculous. And again, what's he saying? Some of them are authorized to be up there. What does that mean? I don't know. It's just very strange, right? Just raw emotion to this. It's just very strange. You know what I mean? Something is clearly going on. Something. Are they hiding UAP? Right. That's actually a theory in the UFO community that I've heard very little of. Right. Which is interesting. It's interesting that the UFO community is so caught up in these drones. Right. Why? If it's not alien or NHI related, why do people in the UFO community care about the drones? It's interesting. Because, look, all right, let's get into another clip here. But real quick, I just want to make an announcement. Today is Monday, December 16th. The program, which is James Fox's documentary, right? James Fox from Moment of Contact, The Phenomena, Out of the Blue, right? Very famous UFO filmmaker, has his brand new documentary he's been working on for a couple of years out today. Nobody's really talking about it because the drones are taking up the whole conversation in the UFO community. I also saw some news about Eric Davis and how put off and you know, David Grush and connecting that with Stephen Greer. Again, a lot of things that people just aren't talking about, and they're focused on these drones. It's just so interesting, to be honest with you. But look, let's so please check out the program. I did watch it. I guess I can get into my review of it, you know, later on. I've got some news. So, but let's wait when I do Q&A later. We'll get back to that. All right, let me bring up this again. All right, so Jesse Michaels tweeted out, who's a YouTuber. Well, okay, that's so basically there's this report going around, right? Saying that basically there was some radioactive material lost in New Jersey, right? Okay, that is true. But as always, people are spinning it to be more than it actually is. So this is what Jesse tweets out. You know, we're in weird territory when a nuclear threat is the PSYOP. This loose nuke narrative is fake. Loose nuke. I love it. It's a clean story, but whatever is actually happening is probably weirder and less simple. Many of the fixed-wing drones with red and green lights are likely man-made. Hang on. All right, let's look at this here. All right, I'll go back up to Jesse's comment, but real quick, let me stay on this radioactive material. So, confirm report that less than Cat 3 radioactive material is missing from New Jersey. So they're basically people are trying to pump it up like it's more. It's literally like a little. Oh, here you can see. This post is intentionally misleading, and the user is purposely spreading fear to boost engagement. Wow. The report does not mention possibly shielded Cat 4. That is true. I read the report. I read a couple articles about it and looked into it. They're totally misleading on it. The missing material here is G868 pin source, which is a small pin used to calibrate a PET scanner in hospitals. Okay, so it was in a shipping container that was damaged. They found it to be empty, but it's not like this big thing, right? Yes, could it cause some issues? Yes, but not what people are making this out to be. Like there's some loose, like sum of all fears, right? Like there's something out there. We got to get it. And that's what the military, it's like, that is, from what I can tell, that is not happening. So rest assured, I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm not here to make you scared. I'm not here to, promote fear and that. Let's just talk about the truth. What's really happening, right? Because clearly there is some very weird things that we should be alarmed about, but let's not get alarmed about every little thing that's coming out. All right, let's stay sensible here, y'all. All right, let's get back to Jesse's comment because it is interesting. I do want to get back to it. All right. So many of the fixed-wing drones with red and green lights are likely man-made. Orbs and other UAVs around sensitive nuclear sites and Air Force bases across the United States. That sounds remarkably like the 167 historical cases of on-record witnesses, stand-up employees of nuclear bases who are beyond reproach. That's an interesting term to use, Jesse, beyond reproach. Documented by Robert Hastings in his great book, UFOs and Nukes. These flying objects often shut down our most advanced weaponry. Vandenberg, 64, Malmstrom, 67, Faye Warren, 2010. If any true UFOs are here, it would make complete sense that you'd get a mix of human drones alongside them. What's the prosaic explanation for these non-fixed wing orbs and more exotic-looking, impossible to fend off high electromagnetism drones flying with impunity around our sensitive military installations, high-powered lasers, plasma balls, classified American tech that we're using to red team or troll our most intensely locked down military sites, and that's somehow also happening all around the world. Again, because I think that is what makes it interesting, right? These UK drone sightings too, right? Like all of it. But as we'll go through here today, okay, stay with me. I've got more to sort of unpack some of these different theories, right, about what's happening with the drones. So one theory with the drones is this nuclear, sort of theory. Okay. I clearly think what you want. Okay. Think for yourself. But, in my opinion, that story is cannot be confirmed at all. Okay. And some of the evidence that people are pushing for is they're purposely being misleading about it. Right. And as you'll see, as we go through today, you'll see a lot of information like that is very, very misleading. And I think on a regular basis, that may be okay. But when we're talking something so sensitive and alarming, and that's not the time, right, for that kind of action. Real people can get hurt. People can start trying to shoot at these things in the sky. That is not a good idea, right? So I think instilling fear to instill fear is not a good idea when life is tough enough. So, all right, there's Jason Sands shouting out the program. All right, you know what? Actually, let's make my screen bigger. All right, we got Trump speaking. Let's see here. Let's go to my bookmarks. Okay, so this is all right. So we've got the nuclear, reasoning for the drones. Okay, we've got UAP as a possible explanation, right? These sightings are UAP, right? Aliens, let's be real, non-human intelligence, mixed in maybe with some of our military trying to cover it up, that sort of thing, right? But this is an interesting take too, from Dr. Dan, who's been on the show a couple times. Let me put what he wrote, because it is interesting. He's saying New Jersey drone flap solved. 25 plus days of nightly drone activity in New Jersey with an average of 40 plus official reports every night. Reports on Thanksgiving, 0. What does it mean? Respect from Russia, China, or NHI, or a U.S. military pause? Official announcement expected before Christmas. And if you go through some of the comments here, you'll basically notice that, Dr. Dan is basically insinuating that, from his source, that here pretty shortly we'll find out exactly what's going on. That they're going to tell us, and it's not going to be, what you think. So I don't know, right? Something more prosaic. But again, is this just a mixture, like different answers? There is no one answer that fits all. I think that is kind of fair, to be honest with you. So I don't think there is anything solved because there's probably a mixture of different things happening. But yeah, this is a great take from Dr. Dan. So here he puts, to protect my source, I'll let these facts speak for themselves. Spy balloons discovered, 3. Spy balloon shot down, 3. Drones observed, hundreds. Drones shot down, 0. He's saying this was a coordinated test, first of military readiness and response, and second of civilian reaction. I wanted them to be UFOs, but they are not. This obviously matches up with why the Pentagon and government briefings have appeared so strangely evasive and clueless. This information came from a senior government insider who stated, I cannot tell you details, but look at it this way, and took me through the same arguments in my post, right? So, what is happening, right? Is this a mixture of things? Is the government going to come out and tell us? I mean, you have Donald Trump saying, look, the government knows. And I've stated that in other videos before I went out of town, right? I showed that we just most recently in California arrested a Chinese national for flying a drone over Vandenberg Space Force military base, right? They tracked the drone, followed it back to the guy, or went and arrested him. I mean, we know how to track these things. We know what's going on. We have satellites that can literally see, the DNA of a sidewalk, zoom in on a lily. So the idea that we wouldn't know what's going on doesn't make sense. It definitely makes sense that we know what's going on, but can't figure out how to explain it. So does that bring in the non-human intelligence aspect? Maybe. Maybe a small part. I mean, all you need is one case, right, to be compelling and interesting about that. Would the military throw up this whole shebang to cover up something, right? A UFO crash or something along those lines? I mean, I guess that's possible. Am I saying that's what's happening? No, I'm not saying that's what's happening. The truth is, nobody knows. That is the truth. Nobody has the answers. I don't really trust any main narrative, if you will, right? I don't know if we'll ever know the truth. Even if they come out and tell us something, what does that mean? Right? I mean, they've already said they don't know what it is in a hearing. So then they're going to come out and be like, no, we do know. It sounds like they're stovepiping within the government. Probably some people within the government do know, but it's not making its way to Congress or people that are publicly, speaking, right? Public facing. I don't know. But the idea that our government would know just doesn't make sense to me. Look, I've got a video that Mick West made about the drones. I do want to watch that. Just, for context, right? All right. This is interesting. So Joe Rogan tweeted this out saying like this was the craziest video about the whole drone situation. To be honest, I haven't listened to it. So this is going to be my real reaction. We're going to watch this together. And let's figure out, why did Joe Rogan tweet this guy out? He's the CEO of a drone manufacturing company that has government contracts. Give interesting take on what's happening in New Jersey. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what this guy has to say.
Hey everyone, my name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast. And as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody. So, you know, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. You know, I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway, back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay. We don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case. So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay. That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. Okay.
Let me just say, we don't all know that. We don't all see that, and we don't all feel that. I'm not a big fan of people like speaking for everybody. You know, we all see this. We all that shows insecurity in your own argument. But it sounds like this guy is going down the, you know, nuclear route here that we've kind of, you know, shared something. I don't really think that that's happening. But I guess let's listen to a little bit more of this guy.
Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas, and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that came up missing here in the United States. And they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor, heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night, unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, you know, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay? Because they don't see shit. So, you know, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff.
I mean, these are good points about the drones, and that's probably what I would take away from this guy. He's not a nuclear expert, and neither am I. Clearly, I'm probably going to get made fun of for just how I pronounce the word. But his assessment of the drones, that I'm listening to, because he owns a drone company. So these are really good points, right? That he's making about the drones themselves. And look, I'm not saying that other story, this Jesse Michaels called it the loose nuke, theory. I mean, with this happening and our own government saying we don't know what's going on, I get it. Different theories are going to pop up. Look into the validity of them and see what's going on. And at the end of the day, you can't rule it out because there's been no confirmation of what has happened. So therefore, every possibility is still open. Now, the probability of those possibilities is what's subjective, right? What's up there. And you have so many people coming out with their own inside sources saying, I got this, I know this, my source told me that, and they're all different stories, explanations. So what does that tell you? That people, the government, don't know SHIT, right? They don't know anything of what's going on, and they're just going to tell random people this stuff. I just don't buy any of that. So anyway, let's get back to this guy. Let's see what he says more about the drones.
Mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an aircraft, an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature. Because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient, before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out.
I mean, one quick point about that is, you know what? Hang on. Let me let him finish here.
Out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe. Now it's gone. So my own guess, is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying that low.
Hang on. Let me make this point before he moves on to the next point. Look, to be fair to him, there is no way he would know if anything was done about this nuclear warhead that he was talking about. Just because they didn't help that guy doesn't mean that the government didn't handle that situation. You see, that's inferring so many different steps. And then he takes what he learned from that and then builds off of that. Does that make sense? You got to be careful with that. How can he confirm that? Did he verify with this one source? That's what I mean. And what's funny is he starts off by saying, I don't want to spread misinformation at the beginning of the video, and then proceeds to lay this out. But I will say it's just his opinion. Okay. And everybody's opinion is valid. But the stuff he's saying about the drones themselves is interesting.
Low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. That's it. There's no other reason for a drone to be flying in the air other than to piss a bunch of people off at night. That's it. So my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground, gas leaks, radioactive material, whatever. So, and do I think
Smell something on the ground? Okay, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, that could be a complete possibility that our own military sent up these drones to detect something, to search for something. What that something is, who knows? Is that a strong possibility? Yes. Does that account for every sighting and everything that's happened? No. So clearly, again, there has to be more than one answer.
that that they're coming up out of the ocean? No, I don't think so. Drones that are multi-copter type drones, not the the fixed wing aircraft that look like regular airplanes, but the multi-copters, they only have so much battery life. They have hybrid versions that are gas powered with electric, but those can still only fly for a short period of time. There's no way in hell that any drone is going to go miles off the coast as a multi-copter and fly into the interior of the United States and do a bunch of work and then turn around and fly back. It's just physics will not allow that to happen. So these drones, I believe, are launched from a location that nobody knows, but I do believe that they're flying low enough that they're just trying to sniff the ground and try to find something. So again, I hate to be a pessimist or a guy that thinks, directly to the negative. However, I know as a professional, I mean, we build professional stuff for the military. I believe that they're actually out there trying to smell something that's very important. So anyway.
Maybe that's the announcement they'll make, right? But it is interesting what he says about the drones. Again, all the different sightings, all the different stories you hear don't match up with just a regular quadcopter drone, right? Whether it be a hobbyist or even military grade, right? He's saying the battery life of these things. It is true that they mostly fly at night. I mean, pretty much all of the sightings are at night between a particular hour. It's very interesting for sure. There's no question about that. But without any confirmation of what's happening, it's best to just keep all options open and just be calm about this and sensible about what's happening. I can't imagine we won't get some sort of answer at some point. When will it just blow over? I mean, it's just too much. It just keeps happening. It literally just keeps happening, right? All these sightings. Now, let's get back to some of these sightings. Let's hear from Chuck Schumer, who commented about this. And this is a clip that James Fox shared, actually. All right, let's see here.
People are flying drones.
Got it. Sir, as the author of the UAP amendment in the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act, you, among anybody, should be calling these what they are. We don't know they're drones, correct? They are UAPs. Why?
We don't.
Why aren't they being called UAPs?
Because we don't know if there are UAPs. We don't know what they are. That's what we're trying to find out.
Identified, of course.
Nobody knows what they are. We have to find out.
Senator,
yes.
U.S. military drones?
We don't believe we do not believe they are U.S. military drones, or the military would have told us that.
Why haven't precautions been taken sooner? Why now? Why haven't precautions?
Well, all of a sudden they're in the skies all over the place, and so we got to find answers. And then the legislation will provide much more authority as to where and when drones can fly. Right now, there is no authority to that because there are so many hobbyists and everybody else who flies drones. So you got to figure out how to do it.
Have you spoken with top government leaders about the possibilities involved with non-human intelligence?
Look, we have spoken with top government leaders about finding the answers to what these are. We don't know what they
You're
are.
saying
No,
classified
no more, sir. Let other people. Okay.
When will you have a definitive answer of what these drones or where they're coming from?
The sooner the better. We've talked to the Homeland Security and the FBI and told them we need answers quickly.
You know, no offense to Chuck Schumer, but by definition, these are UAP or UFOs. He literally just said, well, we're not going to call them UAP. We don't know what they are. That's literally what that means. Unidentified. They are quite literally UFOs. So, see, this is what I mean. Conflicting statements. It's like they're not military drones. Right? Then what the hell are they? They can't all be misidentifications. Right? Even though that is happening a lot. It's just so confusing what is going on. And honestly, how
people are flying drones.
Got it. Sir.
How much is actually Chuck Schumer being honest here? If he knows something that's classified or something like he's, you know what I mean? He's just not going to reveal it. He's not even going to reveal that he even knows that. So I find that interesting. All right, let's keep going here. Hang on. Stay with me. All right, we'll get to Mick's video in a second, but this is something I wanted to talk about. So, look, you see this? Let's bring this up. You know, I covered this in a video last week. A video that was being shared where, you know, this is the greatest footage that's out there of these drones. And it turned out it was an out of focus star. And let me repeat that. An out of focus star. Because you see, this effect is, it's many things combined. You've got the type of camera that's being used, but it's also called atmospheric seeing, where the atmosphere itself sort of distorts what's happening. Then if it's out of focus, you get this blurry bokeh effect, right? You mix that with camera artifacts. It's nothing. It just makes it look like this plasma ball, but that's not what's happening. This is probably a planet or a star that is literally out of focus, and they're just, it's on the news being shared like crazy. And this is the kind of stuff that doesn't help. People putting up videos of literal planes and helicopters and being like, what is that? And it says like American Airlines on the side. You know, you're like, that's Flight 712 headed to Cleveland. You know, so this isn't helping, right? These style of videos.
Are happening. It seems everyone starts to look up, like my crew and I have been here in Mendham recording this video that you're looking at right now. We have no idea what it is, if it's a natural phenomenon, because it could be, but this is why so many municipalities are now asking people to reach out and send their videos to them or to experts who might be able to sort out what they're seeing in the skies. But I guarantee there's so many people looking up and making those recordings because this mystery is one that needs to be solved. For now, we're live here in Mendham Borough. Tony Yates, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Lee's saying he's wondered.
So, yeah, there you go. All right, well, whatever. It's local news. We finally may have an answer for what's been flying around, these mystery drones, right? Finally, the press secretary for the United States has announced in a press conference what exactly these drones are, because you see, Trump about a week ago said this.
But is it anything, these drones, is it anything that people need to be worried about?
No, I think it's terrible. I would like to find out what it is and tell the people.
And can you commit to some kind of...
In fact, I'd like to do that. Could we find out what that was, Susie? Okay? Yeah, why don't we find out immediately? I mean, I can't imagine it's an enemy, or there would have been, you know, people would have gotten blown up all over. Maybe they were testing things. I don't know why they wouldn't have said what it was. They had a lot of them flying over Bedminster, which is interesting, right?
And with the events today, and
now, I've got that explanation coming up from the press secretary, but give me just a second, give you a little backstory. You see, Back in December, President Trump basically had said that the government knew what was going on with the drones. They just weren't telling you. Then he's about to get into office, and he says, on day one, I'm going to tell you what's going on with these drones. Well, the day came. We didn't find out exactly on that day, but he did, again, just like in the clip I played, said, Susie, right, find out what's going on with these drones, right? And now, well, the press secretary has spoken. This is what she has to say.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
This was not the enemy. FAA approved. Okay, so why didn't we get told that before, right? Now, look, a lot of people are not going to be happy with this answer, especially in the UFO community, because a lot of people in the UFO community think that these drones are more than what this explanation can reveal, right? Now, there's some interesting observations and comments coming from Ross Coulthart on News Nation. Take a look.
The FBI has been trying very hard to capture one of these drones. They've been trying to bring them down. They've been trying to find the source, and they've failed. So if somebody from the neighborhood was putting up just a standard drone, they've been doing it very cleverly because the best resources of the US military and government have been unable to catch them. And that's why people are concerned. They describe objects that are 5 feet wide. In some cases, they appear to be changing their shape. They're doing all sorts of weird, anomalous things, and all the public want is answers, because they're concerned, whatever the government says and denies, they want answers, and they're concerned that it's a national security issue. And I noticed on the weekend, Senator Schumer, the former Senate Minority Leader, Democrat for New York, he also said the drones are back, and he too wants answers. He suggested the new president needs to explain what's really going on.
Yeah, a lot of people looking for that report that we were promised within that first day of being back in office. You bring up some video, some new images. There's this video that's been released, Ross, showing the glowing drones hover. We're playing it on the screen right now. Before moving, what do you and others in the UFO intelligence community conclude that these drones are and what they're doing? I get that we're not getting answers from the government, but what do your inside sources think?
Privately, people from government investigative agencies are telling me they have no explanation for these objects. They don't know what they are. And I find that quite incredible, because if you think about the hysteria that happened over the US in February 23, when a Chinese balloon flew across the continent, why is it that the government is so meek and mild now about what literally county mayors are saying is a nightly incursion of hundreds of objects that nobody can explain? It's the most extraordinary situation. And I think the public, particularly the tough-spoken people of New Jersey, they want answers.
So what do you think, y'all? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that the mystery drone issue is solved, or is there still more to come out? Right? Is this the majority of the sightings that were taking place? Will this satisfy people enough to stop looking? Will the drones continue? Right? And if that's the case, what are they going to say about it? Right? And what about the drones over England? What about the drones in the rest of the world? What about the drones over military bases? Right? I don't know if this satisfies completely for everybody. I think more people are going to absolutely have more questions. And I hope Donald Trump follows up on this. And yeah, I don't know if I'm satisfied with this. But I guess for the meantime, it's something. It's a data point, right? But I think there's going to have to be more than just that 30-second statement, to be honest with you. And really, they really pushed home the fact that this is not our enemy. Okay. That doesn't mean it's not nefarious, right? And I don't mean nefarious. I just mean like something else going on. Like, what exactly was going on? because there was too much all over the place. I don't think that is, I just don't, for me personally, that explanation is just not enough. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. New videos every day, y'all. All right. Every day's a gift. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.